Welcome to another of the series brought to you by Bless TV. Today we're bringing to you One-on-One, and today we have our featured guest, Samuel Smiley. You know, in this book, one of the New York bestsellers, New York Wall Street Journal bestsellers, The One Thing, there is a quotation that I would like to share with you. It states from F.M. Alexander, quote, "People do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures." End of quote. We're going to be exploring the life and times of Samuel Smiley, known within the East Jamaica Conference, known within the Central Jamaica Conference, known within Jamaica as an entrepreneur, an evangelist, a stalwart Christian for Christ. We'll be exploring the particular theme on the Christian and the business mindset. The Christian and the business mindset. Welcome, Elder Samuel Smiley. How are you today?
I'm very blessed to be here, Pastor. Thank you for having me.
Blessed.
God has been good.
Amen.
God has been truly good.
Amen. Elder Smiley, walk us through for the listeners who are not aware as to who you are. Who is Samuel Smiley?
Samuel Smiley is the second to last son of 6 children for Martin and Merdeline Smiley. Both parents have been deceased, 27 years apart. And I have been blessed with their heritage and their tutoring of all of us as children. I am married with 1 child. My wife Geraldine is with me, and our daughter Gabrielle has just gone back just 2 weeks. She resides in Canada. We are blessed with many, many children, however, that we have adopted from the community where we do evangelism.
Well, we're going to be sharing with Elder Smiley today from 3 perspectives. We're going to look on the spiritual heritage, we're going to look on the business acumen, and then we're going to be focusing on ministry and some of the challenges that come with ministry and with business in the midst of COVID. So Elder Smiley, walk us through, bring us back into your family life. Share with us, what was life growing up? What was life like growing up in your family home?
Well, in the home, I couldn't say we were poor, but we were by no means rich. And God has been good to my parents. My father, up to age 24, has not lived with me from January to December because he was an external provider back and forth England to Jamaica. He left me in the stomach, came back when I was about 6 months old, spent 6 months, and then left 3 years after we would see him. But he always maintained his family. He would have an arrangement with a popular shop in the community where we lived then in Watermount, and we could always go and get our spirits.
Where is Watermount?
Watermount is beyond Cudger's back pasture, going beyond Dovecot.
And that
in that
is
area.
in the
Kitson
parish
Town.
of
St. Catherine.
St. Catherine. So you grew up in St. Catherine, and I know a lot of persons from Central Jamaica Conference watching now are saying, listen, we know Elder Smiley's story, but are they aware as to the depth and the impact of your family life, not just in terms of family history, but in terms of the church? Tell us a little about the spiritual exploits. What was the spiritual environment like at home? And then tell us about the spiritual exploits of the family in the Central Jamaica Conference.
Well, I have been a product of 3rd generation Seventh-day Adventist. Yeah. I'm from the Langleys background, which hails from Connors, Blue Hole, Bellas Gate, Ginger Ridge, Barton. Those areas are where my ancestors led and established evangelism and established churches by way of through tracts then with battle lamps, and they would minister to people in various communities, well dedicated, would live and die for the gospel. I remember my grandfather, I lived with him for about 7 years, and where he lived was on the side of what could be considered the valley, down to the bottom where a little river was. We could step on stone to cross. And then over on the other side of the valley and beyond, the church would be there. That's Connor's church. And whenever church would be in session, whether Sunday night or Sabbath night or Wednesday night, or if there's a crusade, we would always look out for the light in the church. Because where
and
we
those
were,
days, was it electricity light?
no
or was
electricity. It was the gas lamp,
Yeah, this
spirit
is
lamp
1974.
in the 70s. 70s,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Early 70s to mid 70s and beyond. And I would walk with our cousins and my grandfather and his wife then through the track with battle lamps over to the other side of the valley and walk along the roadway till we get to church.
Hold on there, Ellis Smiley. Some persons might be watching and wondering, what is battle lamp?
Battle lamp is a lamp that you roll a piece of newspaper or cloth in with a wick and you would pour the kerosene out. Wick?
Yes, explain
right?
that for those who
The
don't
wick
know.
would be what would be burning, but it would not burn out because it would be moistened with the kerosene oil inside. And then when it burned down, got a little lower, we'll just flash or shake the lamp and the light would get brighter. So we would always have our battle lamp to walk and guide us along the little tracks that we would walk through the valley on the other side. And of course on the road because there were no street lights. So we would look forward and I would inch onto my cousins who were my seniors just to feel warm because it would be cold getting to and from church. But we were always blessed and warm with the fellowship and the message that we would receive coming back home, rejoicing that we would have gone to church.
So you enjoyed church life. You grew up as an Adventist.
Yes.
You grew up with a missionary spirit. You
Yes.
grew up with a family that gave of their time and their efforts to the
Yes.
cause. And so when you were evolving from childhood days into teen and adolescence, were you settled spiritually?
I was not settled spiritually. I will tell you that. In my young adult, late teens, but before I even get there, I remember when my grandfather would worship, there was a particular neighbor who would pass by, and once my grandparents would be singing All Other Ground is Sinking Sand, it would drive him mad. He would slap the gate of my grandfather with his machete, and he was obnoxious about us ever singing those songs. But my grandfather, morning and evening devotion brought comfort and spiritual healing in the community where they live. And that spiraled off into my mom when she migrated from Blue Hole, Belfield, to Watermount, where she established her own home, having married and started her family there. And of course, my mom would have learned music, and she got her organ from my father who gave her, and she would play and worship morning and evening. Sometimes when she wake us up, we would not even quite awake, still sleepy, but we had to come to worship. And that was like having perfume in the community, because houses were far apart, but as people walked to and from the field or coming along the roadway, they would hear the worship songs. And they would greet my mom even sometime throughout the day. And she would be renowned for worshiping in the community. And that spiraled into even later years when she migrated with the family to Spanish Town.
In Central Jamaica Conference, where you were and grew, your family, the Langley family, has been instrumental in the building up of a number of churches.
Definitely.
Share with us some of the churches that the Langley family
I know
have.
that they have influence in Bellas Gate Church,
Bellas Gate,
Ginger
yes.
Ridge, Barton, and maybe others. But I'm aware that they have impact in getting those churches established.
Well, because what I want to do is to show to our listeners and to our viewers that a spiritual environment assists in creating a spiritual lifestyle, habits. And you have spoken and you have said, Elder Smiley, that even though you had this rich spiritual environment, you still were going through a search. You accepted the values, but inside you were searching. What were you searching for?
Well, as I will tell people, born and grow into an Adventist home with all the richest spiritual background does not guarantee you being a dedicated, consecrated Christian. It was not until I met Jesus for myself. As Paul met him on Damascus Road, my Damascus Road was listening for the sound of death and having two guns around my desk being pointed at me. And then I recognized, this is it. This is it. But as I prayed, and I will tell my listeners, There is no sincere prayer as a man or a woman who is dying and said, Lord have mercy. I made a vow then, if you carefully lead me safe through this encounter and don't let me taste death. Although I was listening for the sound of death with these two criminals, one of them was Jamaica's most wanted man, and he has killed many people and robbed many places, broke away from police stations, locked up. And I did not know that until after. But I asked God, if you deliver me through this encounter, I will serve you for the rest of my life. And hence I am here speaking to you and the listeners right now. Because but for God's divine grace, and I said, the angel was too slow. It's Jesus who saved me while I am here. When I think about it, my body cringe. And I will tell my listeners, if you are on life support or accident and you die, it's no different from a careless, reckless finger, a Satan-influenced finger that is about to press a trigger and cause your demise, your death. Death is death. But why dead in a Christless understanding and life? So then and there I accepted Jesus and I say, if you spare me through that encounter, I will serve you for the rest of my life. And that was when I became a Christian.
What an impression that a goodly home and a personal relationship would have made on this young man, Samuel Smiley, sharing with us encounters, not just on the spiritual side. When we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to delve into the business mindset. How is it that a Christian, someone who found Christ, somebody who loves Christ, how did he find the formula of becoming a successful businessman? Can you be a Christian and a successful business person? We're going to answer that question on the other side of this break. Stay with us. I'm Omar Oliphant. We are on Bless TV and we are having one-on-one with Elder Samuel Smiley.
I'm Noel McCoy, owner and director of McCoy's Auto, right here at 24 Malines Road. Before I actually started my own business, I used to take all my vehicles to First Choice Auto, right there on Adel Park Road, to Mr. Smiley. The reason why I do that, whenever time I take my vehicle to Mr. Smiley, my funds never come short. Once the vehicle sell, you just call and say, McCoy, come and pick up your money. He's very trustworthy, kind, understanding. He's also a very good, influential person to me. He actually teaches me some of the business, so I could actually have my own business running here. And he's a great, kind, loving person, always have good words to say. I know Mr. Smiley is a Christian person from ever since. I also know that he have an outreach program, I think in his business community, where he actually take care of the kids and people in the community. I know Mr. Smiley like from 92, 93, 30 years roughly, thereabout. So all I can say about Mr. Smiley is a great person, fun, loving, wonderful person, very great character.
I am Mavis Burrell Spencer, work at Spencer's Tailoring. I have known Brother Smiley for the past 20-odd years. At that time, I was attending another church, but Brother Smiley always come to my office and he always tell me about the Seventh-day Adventists. At that time, I did not committed, but I remember he had invited me to a crusade at Eros Park, and I went. At that time, he thought that the message was good. At that time, he thought that I would have been committed, but I did not. So he invited me to a small group, and I attended the small group. But this particular Tuesday when I went, and they were talking about the Seventh-day Adventists. And I remember it was very intriguing. So I remember going home that Tuesday evening and contemplating. And I said to myself, Lord, what do you want me to do? Show me or tell me what. And then I remember driving on the Red Hills Road, and I heard a voice say to me, you can run, but you cannot hide. And I was really frightened because I was the only person in the vehicle. I look at my right, and then I turn and I look behind me. There was no one. And I said, my God, what is this? Anyway, I said, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, show me the way. And I remember when I called Brother Smiley and I said to him that I am going to commit myself. I am going to chain the business, and I'm going to start attending church. And I put up the notice, and I bought a chain, and I bought some padlocks. And then after it ran off for about 3 weeks, after the notice, then I chained up, and then I said, this is what I am going to do. I'm going to be baptized, and I told him when I want to be baptized. It was actually a week, I think, after the arrangements were made. And then I went and I got baptized. The Kencut Seventh-day Adventist, that was where I got baptized, and I'm still going and enjoying all the services and everything. The members are cooperative, they are loving, they are prayerful, and I find peace, and I am happy.
Welcome back. This is Bless TV one-on-one with Samuel Smiley. You would have known him as an evangelist. You would have known him as a business person. And today we are sharing, giving you a global perspective of the individual, what has made him who he is today, and how is it that his Christianity interfaces with his work life. Isn't that a challenge for a number of individuals? Come with us as we share with Samuel Smiley. Elder Smiley, we're picking up from where we left off because you shared with us your family history, your family background, and the impact of the family on the church and on spiritual life, and how God used a negative encounter to turn your life around. Walk us through to when you were a child, and you used to take fruits off the tree and go to school.
Definitely.
Walk us through your early experience.
Well, I always love business, and it was just innate in me by God, ordained in me by God. When I was a child, I used to pick fruits and take to college school and ask the people in the canteen to sell for me, and I would get my little money. But there was something spectacular that happened for me at all-age school, which I will never remember, and that was when I was proven that God chose me. I did very well in agriculture, and I loved the subject, especially the practical, and even the very tools. When we finished using them for the teacher, we had to scrape off the dirt and wash them clean and put them in the storeroom for the next class to get clean tools to go in the field, and chop the soil, dig the earth, and so on and so forth. So we learn about animal husbandry and plant husbandry and how to care for plants and care for animals. And that particular year, I did very well. And for the student who did very well, they would get $25 to invest and implement some of the knowledge that they learned. And they could keep the profit and return the $25 to the class coming behind. So I got that money and I invested in chicken. But in those days, chicken would go through 12 weeks of growing. Starter, finisher, starter, fattener, growing, finisher, and each week, 3 weeks per batch of feeding. And I learned. And I did very well, and I earned chicken. And one man in the community bought all the chickens. And I earned more than enough, could return and go another batch and return until I bared it in growing goats. And I earned, I remember.
Wait here, so you moved from a chicken farmer
to goats.
To goat rearing.
Yes, and I will tell you. I will tell you this: not only chicken, but chicken and goat and plants. But as I
and how old were you at this time?
This I was about 13, 14.
But
13,
before we
14.
continue that part, what is it that was in you, or what was it that was driving you? Because you said you weren't poor.
No.
You were able, your father used to take care of you.
My parents and all the children. Yes.
And all of the children.
Yes.
So what was it that was driving you to want to take fruits and turn it into a business?
I wanted my own money. I wanted to save towards getting my ambition in life to buy my own toys, my own little truck. I wanted a bicycle. And I wanted all these things. I wanted a roller, and one day I tell myself I want a home and I want a business. But just to tell you a little more about the goats and the chicken and plants. I remember planting cabbage at the riverside, and it grew nice, and just when I was about to reap it, God would have it. Not God. Satan would have it. Somebody went and chop down and chop up all the cabbage. Because we have a very loving church sister who would go to the Spanish Town market, and her plan was to give it to her to sell for me. And they chop up everything. And I was wounded in spirit. It's a good thing I had a dog who used to follow me to the bush. And I had to call the dog to stand by with me, and I walk home sad. But that didn't deter me. Because shortly thereafter, my parents decided to migrate to Spanish Town, where they were building a house. I couldn't carry the goats with me, so I asked a classmate to take charge of the goats, and 50% of the increase would be his. And brethren, the long and short of it, when God bless you, no man challenge you, And when God curse you, no man bless you. That schoolmate robbed me all of my goats. I got none out of 13 that I give him, plus the increase. Nothing. I live to still help him. And God bless me. I come to Spanish Town and I pick up my bearing with a camera. I asked my father for it. He gave me a camera. He used to do photographing as well. And I'd start to take pictures. The team at school.
Let me think about it. You use the pictures and make the photography
make
and make money.
Make money. I remember the first wedding I do was for a tenant at our home. And that was a policeman, and he robbed me and didn't give me my money. I used to take the bus and go to Stanley Motor Lab at Eros Circle and come back home, clean my pictures, come back home, start picture, football, netball team, stop at people home, knock them up, take pictures and carry it back to give them and ask them to pay me for it. And I made my little funds like that. Till I branch off and bought a bicycle. Reach school early, start to sell, ride on the bicycle around the playfield and get my little money. Sometimes me say I have to give them back a money for lunch because they spend off all the money in riding bicycle. Till I got another bicycle and start to rent bicycle. School was under construction then, Willardine High School, and I asked the contractor for work on the site, and I got work. A lawnmower we got, and we started to cut lawn and earn money. It was just always an entrepreneurial skill that wanted to come out. And God bless every effort. And I was able to make good income till I could pay my school fee, pay my class, my uniform. And mom had it easier, dad had it easier. But one thing with daddy, always look out for the poor and needy, sending barrels and trunk with food for the poor and needy. And I always helped to take care of mom. And arrangements were made in the neighborhood where if mom wanted anything, she could get it anyway. And God bless us with enough property and trees, bearing fruit trees that we could get things from to help sustain ourselves. God has been good, man.
But Elder Smiley, some persons watching might be saying, boy, this elder doesn't know the text that says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yes.
How do you reconcile your desire to be financially independent? Shouldn't Christians be struggling people financially?
The love of money is the root of all evil, but that is when you make money become your God. Money was a medium to help poor and needy. I did say earlier, my father looked out for poor and needy up to his dying days. Always have a bag in his vehicle to give, or two to give to poor and needy. My father always cared for the poor and needy. You know, when my mom died the 10th of April, 2:30, Thursday evening, 1984, and he married again. He lived with a second wife for 19 years. She was a big and fat lady, well built. She always fussy with him. Why are you taking so long when church dismissed? You know what he said to her? You know why it was taking long? To give the poor and needy ride home from church, pick them up to church. He said, dear, you see the front seat is yours. Any day I put anybody in the front seat, make war with me. But you see the back seat is for me and my poor people. You understand? He would carry them to visit his son in town, that is me. give them drive out. He would carry them to the beach and carry a basin. They're too weak to walk. Let them sit on a chair at the seaside, catch the sea water and carry it to them and say, put your foot in it and throw the water on the foot of the poor and the needy. So much blessings, so much blessings. I see my father get out of poor and needy helping. Right now, we have a house in Claremont because of poor and needy. He looked after the lady so much, and the lady said the son had given the mother the house as a gift. And the mother said, nobody to get that house than Father Smiley. He told me about it, and we got involved, and we ended up buying that property right in Claremont town for years now, almost 30 years. God has been good. If you help the poor, blessing will follow you insurmountable. Money is good, but don't love it beyond how you love people and God. And you will use your money to be a blessing to others and not to be a stagnant pond.
But if I hear you clearly, Elder Smiley, and the third one will come after, but I've heard you speak about money in the context and business and entrepreneurial life for three main reasons. Number one, to be self-reliant.
Definitely.
And I'm going to ask you to just speak to that for the young people. Number one is to be self-reliant. And number two is to help others. And the third we're going to come to a little bit later when we look on how you have integrated that with ministry. But let's deal with the first two. The issue of self-reliance and the help to others. You've more emphasized the second one. But speak to the young man today who is going to high school, or the young lady who is finishing college, and rather than wanting to be employed to someone, is seeking like you to be self-reliant, doesn't want to be living in dependency mode on others. How can that individual help to carve out a future as you have done, a habit as FM Alexander states, which develops over a lifetime of not being reliant on others?
Once you have a clear mind, and I will emphasize, do not leave God out of it all. He must be the first, the middle, and the best of it all. You understand? Just to throw in another one, I just remember, I used to buy plastic bag and syrup, and just make soak, put in the fridge and carry and sell to, And it worked. It worked even when I came to town. Trust me. God will give you the wisdom and the keen discernment how to use your money, not to be a hindrance. And the little things that you can do, it will give you confidence in moving into greater things. Too often we want to start with great things and we don't have the money to start great. Start little, and little is much when God is in it, and much is cursed when God is not in it. God bless my little till it become much. Yeah. And we must manage it astutely, manage it with keenness and integrity, and God will bless it. He has done it for me, and He will do it for all the youths now. No matter how hard things get. If flour even become $1,000 per pound, God said your food and water will be certain. Launch out in faith, man. It has worked. Every successful businessman have a story, and it was not on platter. It was hard going and runnings, and they stood it out with integrity, especially those who know God. We're not talking about those who get inheritance and drugs and all these kind of illicit
way of getting. Well, nothing is wrong with inheritance.
Yes, we. But good inheritance, because some people war and chop up one another for inheritance. We're talking about good inheritance, Pastor. That is what we're referring to.
Ella, I'm getting from you, because the conversation with you, it showcases how one's inner passion and inner drive can find meaning and purpose, and not just meaning and purpose in life, but also a livelihood.
True.
Because you can be passionate about something, but it not earning for you. It not bringing you returns. So, as a Christian, many young people are struggling with the concept of money and Christianity. Interplaying on how am I supposed to utilize my talents and my gifts and utilize it for the glory of God, yes, and at the same time utilize it to make my future more viable financially. Give young people, we hear you, that you started out going to school and you sell suck, you sell the kneesberry. But today is a different era. They may not have suck. Some of them don't even know what name suck. Naysbury, they might not be interested in that. But maybe they have other things, other capacity and skills and talents.
Yes.
Give our young people at least 3 things, 3 core principles that they can take to lead the chart of their life from being passionate to gaining livelihood.
All right. The first one I will tell you, put God where he righteously needs to put.
Put God first.
Put God first. Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. We cannot exhaust God's resources, neither his wisdom. Let's humble ourselves and work with little, man. Now the second thing, what about our faith? What about our faith? Launch out with your ambition. The third one would be your ambition. Have an ambition to gain something out of life. Don't let where you live determine your destiny. That is a means of launching from where you find yourself, right? We didn't have it. And even though people come in and see, they would even know that I ran taxi for 7 years almost. 7 years of taxi.
But
Hard work.
It looks like you cover all the traditional scope of work, man. You're a taxi man, you're a businessman, what have you not done?
You understand? God will bless your little, and I can't overemphasize it. Your little will become much. And when your little become much, strive to be humble. Ask God equally for an endowment of humility. And when you have humility with your ambition and your passion to make reality of your ambition and God rightfully where he ought to be, those 3 things will make wonders for you, you know. And guess what? Even though we have those 3 things like your faith, your ambition, and working with the little you have, the little, once you invest it and you see returns on it, it will give you confidence. And that could be looked at as your short-term goals and make mid-term one and long-term ones. Because I did not come to own business just like that. It took time. And the young people today must remember, many people who have things that they're looking at right now, it took years and decades for people to have what they are seeing now and glorying in. So it's going to take a time for them also to invest their ambition and their passion and their faith and their trust in God before it becomes good reality. Sometimes they can ask for help. You don't see the means, but people see your passion and people will help you, man. A lot of people who went through NTU and West Indies didn't have it. They launched in faith and help come to them. The source of the help was ultimately God. And God will touch someone once he sees you are thriving after something that you cannot manage on your own. Help is there. I too have helped many. And we mustn't boast and brag, oh, we right and help the left hand. But God has blessed me to bless others. And I always remember the story of Abraham. He was to be a channel through which blessing would flow through him to nations of the earth. You see, and God promised Abraham a blessing through his generations and his seeds. And until now, we are heirs of that blessing. And when God bless us materially, I am telling everybody who have it that way and not struggling, let's look and see how we can help someone. We have people who are struggling to manage in the community where we live, in our churches, or we may just hear of a situation. Where is the compassion in our heart? What more do we need to do? We can't forget what God do for us. We must be the channel and the little God for others in helping them.
Samuel Smiley sharing with us insights into how we can develop a entrepreneurial spirit, or rather develop the entrepreneurial spirit inside of us. 3 points I've actually gotten. Number 1, in terms of his strategy, he says to start small. Number 2, you need to have a business mindset. It wasn't just to get up and to do something. No, from a child and coming into his early years, he had a mindset towards making a profit, becoming self-reliant, making money so that he can be able to help others. Having a mindset is important. And number 3, he speaks about values. So we must have core values at our center. And he says we must put God first. Number 1. Number 2, he speaks about faith as a value. And number 3, he speaks about humility. What a powerful way to move from our second segment, bring you into a break. But I'm going to share with you just a little more from this book. The one thing, the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. And something that Elder Smiley just said. Watch this. Listen to what the author says. When one thing, the right thing, is in motion, it can topple many things.
Amen.
When one thing, the right thing, is in motion, it can topple many things. Speaking about the Christian and the business mindset, this is Blessed TV. We're doing one-on-one with Samuel Smiley. We'll return right after this short break.
I'm Noel McCoy, owner and director of McCoy's Auto, right here at 24 Malines Road. Before I actually started my own business, I used to take all my vehicles to First Choice Auto, right there on Adel Park Road, to Mr. Smiley. The reason why I do that, whenever time I take my vehicle to Mr. Smiley, my funds never come short. Once a vehicle sell, you just call and say, McCoy, come and pick up the money. He's very trustworthy, kind, understanding. He's also a very good, influential person to me. He actually teaches me some of the business, so I could actually have my own business running here. And he's a great, kind, loving person, always have good words to say. I know Mr. Smiley is a Christian person from ever since. I also know that he have an outreach program, I think in his business community, where he actually take care of the kids and people in the community. I know Mr. Smiley like from 92, 93, 30 years roughly, thereabout. So all I can say about Mr. Smiley is a great person, fun, loving, wonderful person, very great character.
I am Mavis Burrell Spencer, work at Spencer's Tailoring. I have known Brother Smiley for the past 20 odd years. At that time, I was attending another church, but Brother Smiley always come to my office and he always tell me about the Seventh-day Adventists. At that time, I did not committed, but I remember he had invited me to a crusade at Eros Park, and I went. At that time, he thought that the message was good. At that time, he thought that I would have been committed, but I did not. So he invited me to a small group, and I attended the small group. But this particular Tuesday when I went, and they were talking about the Seventh-day Adventists. And I remember it was very intriguing. So I remember going home that Tuesday evening and contemplating. And I said to myself, Lord, what do you want me to do? Show me or tell me what. And then I remember driving on the Red Hills Road, and I heard a voice say to me, you can run, but you cannot hide. And I was really frightened because I was the only person in the vehicle. I look at my right, and then I turn and I look behind me. There was no one. And I said, my God, what is this? Anyway, I said, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, show me the way. And I remember when I called Brother Smiley and I said to him that I am going to commit myself. I am going to chain the business, and I'm going to start attending church. And I put up the notice, and I bought a chain, and I bought some padlocks. And then after it ran off for about 3 weeks. After the notice, then I chained up, and then I said, this is what I am going to do. I'm going to be baptized, and I told him when I want to be baptized. It was actually a week, I think, after the arrangements were made. And then I went and I got baptized. The Kencut Seventh-day Adventist, that was where I got baptized, and I'm still going and enjoying all the services and everything. The members are cooperative, they are loving, they are prayerful, and I find peace and I am happy.
Today we're bringing to you one-on-one, and today we have our featured guest, Samuel Smiley. And here is the prime condition of success, the great secret. Concentrate your energy, thought, and capital exclusively upon the business in which you're engaged. Having begun on one line, resolve to fight it out on that line, to lead in it and adopt every improvement, have the best machinery, and know the most about it. A quotation from the book, The One Thing, the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. And we are interpreting some of these principles through the lens of the life of one Nuff Love, known as Nuff Love, elder at the Kencut Seventh-day Adventist Church in Kingston, Osborne Road, known across the Central Jamaica Conference, the East Jamaica Conference, one and only Samuel Smiley. Sharing with us, Elder Smiley, we're going to merge the two concepts now. We've been speaking about your family, we've been speaking about your spirituality, we've been also speaking about the business, because these three for you are all intertwined.
Definitely.
Now your wife of 32 years.
22nd of July, 2:30, Andrew's Church.
You know,
she
feel good about that.
1990.
Look at that. Yes, man has the date down.
A journey, but God has kept us through it all.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
So, family, business, and evangelism.
Yes.
Your life is in those three facets, those three circles. Walk us through your work. Let's go first with evangelism. Your work in terms of evangelistic effort.
Well, I will tell it like this. It was work and an encounter at work that caused me to become a true consecrated Christian. Being held up in my office, and this was after coming out of partnership with a known person, I will allow remain nameless now, for 4 years. And when I was going in that partnership, I told him what I'm coming in the partnership with, and not leaving when I'm leaving. And that was my integrity. And I left with it. Even today, we are these friends. Yes. And guess what? I established my own business. And I had planned, but there was a little intermittent area where I paused for about 2 years. And that is right where the new bus stop is in Halfway Tree. There was a business there by an auto broker which I used as my stepping stone to Agley Park Road. That's another encounter. But guess what? When Satan set up the referee, it's not the worst thing can happen. God permit many of these things to happen to give us a platform to launch into our own entity.
But let's pause, because your entry into the business world formally was an accumulation of a lifetime involved or practicing the entrepreneurial spirit.
Definitely.
But not only that, it was also an answer to prayer.
Definitely. You know, before my mom died, the 10th of April, 2:30, Thursday evening, 1984, I got my mom's blessing. And another thing we should look at as children is to get our parents' blessing. You see, I got my father's blessing. The 10th of April also, 12:30, Sunday 2011, when he died at Andrews Hospital. 27 years later, I got both parents' blessing, and my mom charged me to make sure I look after our eldest brother and keep the love and fellowship among our families. I'm a sibling. I'm the second to last. I rose to responsibility and accountable at an early age. Yes. And my father gave me his blessing and asked me also that my eldest brother, and my mom asked that my eldest brother would come back to the faith. That will come out in the evangelism aspect of it. But back to the business part. I put my mind that one day I want to own my own business. So I bought a box by the truck, and everywhere that time you read Gleaner and go and buy vehicle and sell from it, fix up and sell. And I bought a box by the truck. And places I bumped into that was selling desk and chairs and filing cabinet. I buy them and put in the box by the truck and store it there because I don't have nowhere to store them. And when I found that place at 26A Agley Park Road, I drove down my truck with all my office furnishing inside the box by the truck. And I set up my business. And that landlord also helped me in a very crude way to own my own property. As I will say again, the worst thing that can happen to us is not the worst thing. God allowed them to happen so that we can grow. But we must grow with our integrity, grow with our spirituality, grow with our ambition, and things will happen. And that's what happened for me. I found myself now facing 2 guns around my decks, as I mentioned earlier before the break. And that was when I consecrated my heart to God. And believe it or not, it has been working for me. I'm not perfect, still under construction, but it has worked well for me. And I ask God to help me and keep me and prune me and grow me into the kind of evangelistic person.
And you made a vow to the Lord.
I made a vow.
So it was through your business relationship that you had that negative encounter.
Yes.
And you made a vow to the Lord, and you have been seeking to fulfill that vow all the days of your life. And what was that vow that you made to the Lord?
That if the Lord spare me through this and I live to tell the tale, I'm giving him the rest of my life. And you have been so. You have been I made a vow. I made a vow shortly after, and I made a vow shortly after, and the vow and mantra is business as usual, business unusual. And it has been practiced. As I mentioned earlier in previous comment that I made, that what I wanted to do at church when the survey went out, evangelism. You see, and I started to do it in a significant way, not knowing the outcome, but by faith, learning, and my church helped me. My church helped to guide and nurture and train. And I'm encouraging our pastors and leaders in church to help train the young people and elderly and whoever is interested. It can help them to grow into areas that will work wonders. I follow up the trainings, yes, and I learn from it. And I'm still learning from reading books. Even in my sales skill, I read books. Zig Ziglar was one of the books, but I learned to read through evangelism. You see, and I listen how Jesus do it. He contact, he connect, he bond, he proclaim, and he nurture. And I learned those, and I put it in my head. I want to do it too, and I have been doing it. But I also learned that, doing this kind of small group ministry at my office. You know what I told myself with the mantra, business as usual. I said it earlier, business unusual.
Well, let's go through that. Let's unpack your mantra. Mm-hmm. Your mantra of business usual, what does it refer to? And your mantra of business unusual, what does it refer to?
Let me dissect it for you. The usual business is what people would come about to seek to buy. I am operator of First Choice Auto Brokers, so I sell vehicles, yes. And before vehicles were imported in Jamaica, because I'm one of the longest persons on Agley Park Road, not the biggest, but God has blessed me to still maintain the gate to be open, with challenges, of course, you see. And I am still able to say to God be the glory. Yes. And trust me, all my challenges and encounters, I was telling the mantra, business as usual, business unusual. The usual thing is the day-to-day activities and transactions, if and when they come.
So your usual thing is the selling of vehicles.
The unusual part, how is the family are going to heaven and not leaving you? Is everything all right with the soul? Any answer they give me, I must find a way. People want to know that you're showing interest in the family. Oh, you know me have a family. If they say they don't have one, well, I say we're all a part of the family of God. So how about that? I'm going to heaven, man, and not leaving you. God wants you to be a part of his eternal family.
Come here, Smiley. Yes. I wanted to share the exciting story of how you opened up your business place to studies being done there and how it led to the family that you're speaking about.
Yes. So I joined, having got the training with a senior elder Marby, Fitzgerald Marby, and supported him in his small group and learned from him.
Yes.
And so how it happened. So I told him and served him notice, I want to do it too one day, elders. So I break and left. But even then, I didn't have the courage and confidence. So I asked another elder to come, and the elder came. But not much of us was there, just about one family. Mm-hmm. And the young man said he wanted to get baptized.
No, it's not just one family. One person?
One person.
Not just one
yes,
family?
and he came, he had that respect and revere with me that he came and we studied together, you know, and share, and he wanted to get baptized. Carry all his clothes to church to baptize. And him said, you know, brethren, me not about to baptize. And I said, well, come. Me not about to baptize, man. But he kept coming and we kept studying with him. It's not everything you get as discouragement and disappointment is real disappointment. God is behind working that we cannot do for ourselves, that the Holy Spirit is to do. And I kept working and encouraging with him. And he said, no, I'm ready. You know how much ready this time? He said he's not baptizing, leaving his family. So he baptized with his wife and his twins. Yes, and his entire family got baptized Sabbaths later, many Sabbaths later.
And so you have seen how God has worked for you spiritually.
Yes.
You have seen how God has worked for you with small group ministry. Yes. And you see how God worked for you as a business person.
And in the community.
And in the community. And in the community.
Definitely.
Yes.
Because I tell you more about the small group. It went so successful for me at Hagley Park Road, where I offered and used my office as the place for evangelism. And the second set of baptism was 7 after that encounter.
Amen.
And it has just been growing exponentially. But I learned later on that small group ministry is not only about you what you do alone by yourself, but it's also have an added responsibility to reach out to the community and personal evangelism. You see, so I went out in the community after an encounter with my church, and they said, go and seek, and I went, and believe it or not, the story is long, will take up more time than this interview, but sufficing to say, I went to a place called Jamestown.
Yes.
But on reaching, before I went there, and I was terrified, you know, I stopped at the gas station to buy gas, having leave from a board meeting at church. And when I stopped, I said to the attendant, how is this whole? How is everything all right? She said, Lord Master, that the one whole heap of work on. I said, how about coming to a small group meeting having at my office? She said, where? Hagley Park Road. She said, but a friend invite me, you know. I said, it was my core supporter in small group with me. And he invited her, but I get a little motivation to stop at the community, man. And I left from the gas station encouraged. It was me alone and Jesus in the car. And I turned in the community, one way in, one way out. And that day when I turned in, I saw a man with his radio and I said, brethren, do you know where Kencut is? He said, where that church is again. I know it's soon time to stop, you know, but where that church, he don't even know where the church is. I said, behind telephone company, he said, oh, that
and
church.
And you started going to Kencut, and now you are an elder, you are in Sabbath school and personal ministries, and you are in small group ministries.
Definitely.
Elder Smiley, your story sounds almost unbelievable. It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like you don't even have any challenges.
You're
but
joking.
COVID came on.
You're joking.
Hold on there. COVID came on. And COVID taught you 1 or 2 lessons about major challenges.
Yes.
Share with us some of the challenges as a Christian. Share with us some of the challenges as a business person in Jamaica during this period of the pandemic and how you were able to navigate it.
Just before COVID, there was a massive expansion of Hagley Park Road widening project. It was at my office that small group meeting was kept for years. And one particular person got baptized from there, who is Sister Spencer. Her story is another testimony. But just to cut it short, I stopped by her. People couldn't come on the road, drive nor walk. So I couldn't keep the meeting at my office.
Yes.
And the truth is, I stopped by her and I said, but sis, we have a big challenge, you know, how are we going to keep small group meeting? You hear what she said to me? Lord, Brother Smiley, what you worry about? No place this. So we started to have the meeting at our office, you see. And from there, several persons got baptized.
So even in the pandemic, because hold on, even in the pandemic, you were actively involved in evangelism through your business on Hagley Park Road. Give us another example.
Another challenge. The business could not do what it used to do. So I was challenged to meet my obligations. Here is a evidence of 16 vehicles from the government inbound that I operate. Couldn't get sales, nobody not coming out for auction. On the auction list coming up, published in the newspaper, and this is the print I have right here. challenge it. I didn't have a challenge. This was a big challenge. How should I meet it? I begged them time. They said, no, up to 24 hours before the day of the action, you can pay the duty. All right? This was actually in May 26, 2021. See the date right here? Yes. And I was challenged. When I check out the list with my custom broker, 4 was already paid. I was so happy. They didn't amend the record to include those 4. The next thing I know, another testimony. I know we have to close shortly, but another testimony. I went to work troubled, but not without praying. And I prayed that morning that God sent some sales. And I remember 2 carloads drove in that Monday morning. And I said, Lord, I am early. What is this? And the men came out and they said they saw in J Cars a crane truck they want to buy. But when they come and look at it, they said that one selling too, I better want to just clear the Friday. I said, yes, it is selling, but it's much more money than that one. They said, we're not leaving it. And one of the man was on his phone. I said, Lord, make sure this is not a hold-up. This is not a robbery. The long and short of it, the man was calling his mechanic to certify the vehicle for him. And the long and short, it was sold. And it was able to pay a number of them off the auction list. God answers prayer.
In the midst of the pandemic.
The midst of the pandemic.
In the midst.
Much more to share, but God is a God of answering prayer. Before you call, He says He will answer.
Next
God
time, I won't
bless
give you the pulpit to preach
Yes.
today. Thank you so very much for joining with us. What a stimulating, what a riveting exploration of a life that has unfolded the business principles by a Christian gentleman who has used success one step after another to build his own self-reliance, to reach out to the community, and to help others to make a lasting impact for eternity. We have been speaking with Smiley, and we want to thank him so very much for taking the time. Boy, I know you have much more to share, Smiley, but we are right at the very end of our program. Thank you so very much. I leave with you with the quotation from F.M. Alexander from this book that I think encapsulates the personality, the story, and the history of the life of Samuel Smiley. Quote, people do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. I am Omar Oliphant on behalf of Bless Television, Bless TV, Catch the Vision, Join the Mission. We have been broadcasting to you from the Caymanas Golf Club, and we want to thank all of our partners and affiliates, our broadcasters, our producers, our camera persons, our technicians, our audio engineers, for sharing with us in this episode. Until next time, walk good.